Look at this stylized map of the ancient Egyptian cosmos. Before there were pharaohs or pyramids, the earth god Geb issued a ruling that split the physical world straight down the middle. He established the earth as a binary system, handing one distinct half to each of his sons. The first son, Osiris, received Kemet, the Black Land. This is the narrow, hyper-fertile strip of soil clinging to the Nile River. It represents predictable agriculture and the concept of Ma'at, the absolute order of the natural world. The second son, Set, received Deshret, the Red Land. This is the vast, scorching desert beyond the riverbanks. It yields no crops and offers no comfort. It represents Isfet, the raw, unpredictable violence of the untamed wilderness. Geb's division defined the universe as a pendulum. For life to exist, the system required both the extreme fertility of the river and the raw power of the desert, but the balance between them was dangerously unstable. That instability shatters through jealousy. Set sits in the scorching sand, watching his brother's lands thrive while his own remain barren. That resentment turns to hatred the night his wife, Nephthys, disguises herself as Isis and tricks Osiris into fathering a child, Anubis. He retaliates with a bloodless coup. At a grand divine banquet, Set presents a breathtaking wooden chest covered in intricate carvings. He announces a game. Whoever fits perfectly inside gets to keep it. The guests try, but the proportions are never quite right. Then Osiris lies down. It fits him to the millimeter, because Set secretly measured his brother's body to build it. The moment Osiris's shoulders touch the wood, Set's accomplices slam the lid shut. They drive nails into the lid and pour bubbling lead down every seam, sealing the god of life inside. Before the guests can react, the chest is dragged out and hurled into the Nile. The god of life suffocates in the dark. With Osiris gone, the cycle of growth halts. The desert begins to swallow the riverbanks as the world tips entirely into the chaos of Set's rule. Isis refuses to let the world wither. She tracks the chest beyond Egypt's borders, finally locating it in the coastal city of Byblos. By the time she arrives, a sacred tree has grown around the chest, absorbing her husband's body into its trunk. She hides the body in the swamps, but Set discovers it. He hacks the corpse into 14 fragments, hurling them across the continent. He ensures life can never be reassembled by losing the organ of creation to the river, swallowed by a fish. Set isn't just committing murder, he is dismantling the physical structure of the universe. By scattering the body and destroying the means of reproduction, he intends to make the reign of chaos permanent. But Isis and her allies scour the earth to recover the 13 remaining fragments. To replace the lost piece, Isis uses her magic to forge a replica out of glowing gold, restoring the symbolic potential for life to her husband's body. They cannot wake the dead, so they invent a new way to preserve the spirit. Anubis purifies the flesh with oils, and Isis binds the fragments together in fine linens. They engineer a vessel for the soul, the world's first mummy. The ritual works, but the cost is a bitter exile. Osiris can never again walk under the living sun. He must ascend to the dark to become the permanent ruler of Duat. The god of the harvest is now the king of the dead. Yet, before Osiris departs, Isis draws life from him one final time to conceive a son. She hides this vulnerable heir, Horus, in the thick reeds of the Chemist swamps, raising him in the shadow of Set's assassins. Order survives, but it has mutated. Ma'at is no longer a given state of the world. It is now split between a king in the afterlife and a hidden, fragile hope in the living world. When Horus comes of age, he enters the divine council to reclaim his throne. This sparks an 80-year war of both magic and law, a grueling contest between the seasoned violence of the uncle and the strategic intellect of the nephew. Set attempts to dominate Horus magically, but Isis intercepts the effort. She instead hides Horus's essence on a stalk of romaine lettuce, Set's favorite food. When the gods call for proof of dominance in court, Horus's magic answers from inside Set's own body, turning the tyrant's appetite into his own public humiliation. The conflict turns physical. They transform into massive hippopotamuses for an underwater contest that ends in absolute carnage. Set manages to rip out Horus's eyes and bury them in the desert, before the goddess Hathor uses divine milk to restore the boy's sight. The final test is a boat race where the ships must be made of stone. Set violently hews a mountain peak into a heavy block of solid rock that sinks instantly beneath the waves. Horus, however, builds a ship of cedar wood and coats it in white gypsum plaster. It looks like heavy stone, but it floats. Horus wins by using his environment rather than trying to overpower it. He demonstrates that a ruler's weight isn't measured in stone, but in the strategy required to keep the state afloat. Despite the victory, the sun god Ra hesitates to crown the boy. Horus has the intellect to lead, but Ra is looking at a much larger threat on the horizon. Every night, Ra's barge faces Apophis, the serpent representing total non-existence. To hold back a force that seeks to delete the universe, Ra requires a weapon of immense, violent instability. He needs the very raw power that Set possesses. The deadlock only breaks when a letter arrives from the underworld. Osiris threatens to unleash the dead to consume the living if his son is not seated on the throne. The threat of total annihilation finally forces the council's hand. Horus is officially crowned. The lands of Egypt are reunited, and the predictable cycles of the river are restored under his rule. But Set is not destroyed. Instead, Ra elevates the tyrant to the heavens. He places Set at the front of the solar barge, tasking the god of chaos with spearheading the nightly defense against the serpent of the void. The Egyptian cosmos functions by integration rather than eradication. By placing Horus on the throne to govern and Set on the prow to fight, the system uses the very chaos that once threatened it to guard the gates of order.